Hey, it's Dominic D'Angelo. It is Rumor and Innuendo, and I'm of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and Brass Ring Media. Usually we have Robert Karplus here. Sometimes I fly solo, but today I'm happy to have with me here Mr. Bad Bubba Brewer. Like I said yesterday, if you tuned in, Bad Bubba Brewer was part of the first ever independent wrestling show and ever wrestling show I've seen. So, and he became an instant fan favorite with me. And man, full circle moment. I'm happy to have with me here, Bad Bubba Brewer. Bubba, thanks for joining, man.
Oh, welcome. I'm so appreciative, Dominic, to be invited to your show. And when you said full circle, that means I just feel so old because it was the mid 90s.
Yes.
When I was a lot younger. I mean, sometimes I look young, but I do not feel young anymore. But it's I appreciate the opportunity to come on a real podcast. And I'm looking forward to seeing what I have to say.
Well, yeah, let's say hi to some folks in the chat here real quick, and then we'll talk a little wrestling, a little bit of what you and I have going on this weekend as well, too. Johnny Disco says, good Thursday, R&I. We got Dre Owens in here. Hello, R&I. Mercedes didn't need to win that title. Shaking my head. We'll talk about that, Dre, for sure. Devin Dowling says, hey, yo. And then we got Jared Devil in there, giving the peace sign. Plus, we got Devin. If you're not Robert Karplus and want to host the show, you need to have some initials for both names. All right. So, yes, Bubba, you have APWF Redemption happening this weekend coming up, and it is taking place in Indiana, Pennsylvania. I always associate with Jimmy Stewart, but it's a little bit of a pro wrestling town, too.
Well, you know what? He's the legendary actor of all time. That's what Indiana is famous for. Besides pro wrestling this Sunday at the S&T Bank Arena. I brought it back last year after 14 years of hiatus. Ladies and gentlemen, running a wrestling company, especially in independence in any state, is very, very hard. But I'm glad that I have a great staff. My wife is fully supportive, and I just want to bring something back because of the 20 years that I was in the business. It's my way of giving back and bringing back the Allied Powers Wrestling Federation. I mean, we have a very good history. We have 9 exciting matches Sunday. Last year when we were in Indiana, we had the NWA World Title match with EC3 versus Big Time Bill Collier. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've never saw a Big Time Bill Collier, I tell you what, it is worth something to see. He is one of the best wrestlers that I've ever seen in the ring. Him and Spencer Slade last year blew the roof off in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And I was honored to actually see that and actually have it booked under my company. So, and I like to give people opportunities when I can.
Absolutely. And yes, you have this week, we have Rhino on the card. And yeah, Spencer Slade will be there. Big Time Bill Collier, Kane and Christopher, Zach Nydstrom. So many local names and some rising names too. My degenerate brother Marcus will also be
I tell you what, he's making a name for himself. His promos are some unique way. I love him. And I didn't know he was going to turn to the dark side, but hey, whatever you got to do to win, Marcus is doing it. And you're going to be there too. I mean, you're coming out with him, so I don't know. I don't know about you, Dominic. You better,
I've got some conflicts, inner conflict going on, but I'm more than happy to walk my brother out there and support him in any way possible. So should be a fun show. I'm excited. Yes. And it's you do a great job. It was really cool to see that momentum build up last year when you started APWF again. And
it's very hard, Dominic. I mean, it's just today is just nonstop. I'm off work today. Me and my the vice president of the company is back there getting ready stuff to do, and I listen to her.
Yes,
we're getting stuff ready for Sunday. We're also having an author come in, Erin Kelly. She's going to be signing autographs and signing her books and selling her books with her friendship with Mick Foley. So I met her at a Johnstown local radio station, and she captured my heart. And she's going to be coming in and doing stuff and selling her books. It's called Mick and Me. And it's just that when I see opportunities like that, Dominic, I try to help out. Like, I do my platforms like you do on your podcasting. I run a couple shows myself, but I try to give opportunities and try to help out people when I can. And it's just, I like to pay stuff forward. And the reason why I got the Allied Powers Wrestling Federation back in was to give my tag team Team Tap Out, Lonnie Fulmer and Chris Coleman, one final match. And that is the only reason why I did it, because, I wanted to give them back to these guys. They're homegrown guys from Indiana, Pennsylvania, and I wanted to give them the one last match. And then one match turned into me putting the company back on my back again and trying to make it in. And this weekend, like we talked about, this is the biggest weekend I've seen of independent and wrestling in West Pennsylvania. If you don't go to any of these shows, you're not a true wrestling fan.
I know there's plenty of opportunity to see some good wrestling going down. TNA is going to be in town. IWC is always cooking. There's also we got some other stuff going on too. But APWF, it's Western PA is a hotbed right now, especially this weekend for pro wrestling.
Man, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, and I like to book Sundays because I don't want to compete with anybody else, but it's very hard. And that's one thing I can't do in the fall is compete against, the Pittsburgh Steelers. There is no way. And I would never, ever do that. But it's nice that I can get this stuff in June and we can have a great show for the Teddy Bear Fun Drive of Indiana County. And I try to do charity shows to bring back to the communities where I run.
Absolutely. Hey, somebody recognizes you in the chat here too. Wrestling Old at Bubba Brewer.
Oh,
that's nice to see you both. And then
God bless you. I'm still alive and still kicking.
He says, I watched a couple of tapes of Bubba Brewer versus Jimmy Cicero back in the tape trading days.
Oh, the wise guy, Jimmy Cicero. I learned so much from him. We duked it out in the Allied Powers Wrestling Federation and in other companies in the mid 90s. He was one of the top independent talents at that time. Julio De Niro, Cue Ball Carmichael. Oh, it was such a great time. Norm Connors and Steel City Wrestling back in the day. I mean, it was, at one time there was only 3 companies that it was PWX, APWF, and Steel City Wrestling back in the day when I was wrestling.
Wow. Yeah. And now there's several promotions cooking.
20 to 30.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, give us a quick background, how you got into wrestling. Who were you a fan of growing up? And then, how did you get started?
I've been a wrestling fan all my life, Dominic. And it started, in the early 80s, with buying pro wrestling illustrated magazines back in the day. And getting the, Channel 53 at Saturday afternoons, with, Roddy Piper and Snuka into Piper's Pit. That is actually what made me, I'm a huge Piper fan. I love Piper. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Hogan back in his day, but Roddy did something for me where it inspired, and that was a time where, Slaughter and the Sheik were going at it, and then an hour later he had World Class Championship Wrestling. And then what I like about when your brother, when he does stuff with Jake Roberts, I was a huge Mid-South guy, and we got Mid-South on Thursday nights in Indiana, Pennsylvania. And I mean, it was something. So I've been a wrestling fan all my life. I still try to, see everything. I like a lot of the new guys. I love ladies wrestling now, which I didn't think I'd ever. I mean, it's very, very hard to, get them when you can book them. We have our first ladies match ever in Indiana County, and probably we've never had a ladies match in Indiana. So this is going to be historic. It's going to be a championship match. So Ava Brooks and the Villainess is going to be, it's a title Sunday. So I try to do stuff that's historic, but I got into wrestling in my mid-20s. I trained in Bridgeville, Pennsylvania under the old Sal Conte, and I don't want to take about, because that's everybody be coming out of the woodwork for that. And then I got hooked up with Chris Lash and the Allied Powers Wrestling Federation. And I kind of was like the cornerstone of that company. We've had tragedy and we had triumph, but it goes without saying. I got an opportunity to do something that I've loved since I was a kid. So
awesome. Yeah, it's good stuff to kind of keep that the history continuing in the Western PA wrestling world, and having different options to come and check out. And especially booking on a Sunday is pretty
just booking anywhere. I mean, for me, I want all the companies to come together. I don't know if it'll ever happen, right? But that is one of my goals, where everybody can come together, and maybe Western Pennsylvania can have like a super big show. And just look, I'll put my ego aside and try to help out and do whatever. And maybe one day, I can always dream.
Yeah, right. How cool would that be? That would be something very, very special to have happen for sure. AEW happened to have something pretty darn special last night. It was AEW Grand Slam Mexico, hailing from CMLL at the cathedral there that they have down in Mexico. And I had a lot of questions coming into it, Bubba, because it was like, obviously Worlds Collide happened first for WWE. So I was curious how a kind of like a follow-up would be if they can pack a punch and make it feel really special. And I think overall AEW did a pretty good job in presentation and some of the matches that they had.
Well, they had to,
Yeah.
and they did. I mean, the crowd was electric last night, from what I hear and from what I saw. But for me, they have to put some of those matches, or the 5-on-5 matches. It's you can't watch everything, so you got to be glued to something. But that is why wrestling in Mexico is so fast paced.
Yeah, and the aspect of it too, as and yesterday I was pretty critical because I was like, man, they have several multi-man matches on this card coming up, and it's just like, how are you going to make something feel special and certain things like that? And I think overall, it's kind of part of the aesthetic in a lot of ways. It feels like when it comes to lucha libre and stuff like that, is multi-man matches. So it was more digestible than what I thought it was going to be. But then they had some really special moments going on here too. People were talking about it in the chat, the MJF and Mystico match that went down. And
he looked so great in that. He looked so great, and he looked like a superhero. You know what I mean?
Remember Rollerball Rocco from the Great Britain over there across the way?
Yeah.
He had that vibe to him a lot. So, but yes.
But also too, I mean, he's playing a heel, MJF is, and then he's a face in America. You know what I mean? And that's the good part about doing it. You could turn at any time, and MJF is money no matter where he's wrestling.
He definitely is. And the controversy happened at the end of the match where he ripped off Mystico's match.
You can't do that.
Can't do that. Big no. Pretty surprising too, because I mean, like he's been having a trend of ripping off other luchadors' masks, but that's in AEW. That's not in CMLL and in Mexico. So for it to happen there, he got a lot of heat. And apparently, too, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a report that he got in a confrontation afterwards. Like somebody,
he's lucky he got back to the locker room, because you never know, because it's very, very serious down there when you mess with a mask.
Oh my
very,
God.
very serious.
And you know what? If anybody knows how to get heat, it's MJF, and he sure got it. I remember hearing stories about like Terry Funk down in Puerto Rico and stuff like that, and how he garnered so much heat. He got stabbed down there, I think.
That's why Piper had that leather jacket.
Yeah. Wow. See, it's just like you don't know. And like I think, and from what I heard too, is MJF was pretty happy with the result. Actually, although it's a scary situation, he was like, "Hey, I got what I was looking for out of it," So, but yeah. Overall, and then we had Mercedes Moné win the championship too, which I thought was a wise choice, I think, to kind of build to her and kind of create a bigger atmosphere for what she's got going on with Toni Storm here too. So
I do love timeless Toni Storm. I love her gimmick. I think it's what I mean. When she left WWE, and they gave her the ball and let her run with it and let her keep running with it. But I just think, some of the girls that are leaving and going across the board, across the company here, it's a battle now with these ladies wherever they're going.
It's wild, Bubba, because it's like, I mean, I know Jordan Grace wasn't in AEW, but she gets over there. You have Stephanie McCour, who had a cup of coffee in AEW, and she's over there and a huge star now. And now Mariah May, who's now Blake Monroe, almost.
She's going to be a star.
Yeah,
she's already a star anyway. It's just that they can play and they can do. The ladies wrestling right now, like I said, is very, very hot.
It is. There's so many, and like the talent pool is so vast, but it's so good quality. Like these women are so talented at what they're doing, and so there's a lot of intrigue about who's going to get pushes and who's going to get the spotlight a lot of the times. And it's hard to fill that space because you'd want each one of them to feel special, and sometimes if there's so many of them, somebody's going to get lost in the shuffle too at the same time. So.
Yeah, look what happened to Carmella.
Absolutely, right? So it's unfortunate that happens, and so hopefully, we'll see how things go. That's something AEW's definitely got to work on, is their women's division and making that feel very strong, and because there's so much talent there too on both ends, on both sides of the ball. So, What else we had here? We also had wanted to talk about my goodness. Oh, Briscoe and Okada, Mark Briscoe and Okada going on. I love Mark Briscoe. I think he's just fantastic. He's done such good baby face work, but then they always have him lose too. And it's something that I'm like, I just wouldn't do that. And I think, but I understand they're building Okada and Omega. And so it's just a give take kind of thing. But I always just think there's a different way to do it, Bubba.
Well, yeah, and it was a good match too. So I mean, Briscoe coming, from his tag team stuff to now his singles, he's getting the opportunity. Nobody ever would have thought he would be on TV anyway. You know what I mean? So, and it's a shame that the Briscoes with the FTR, those matches there were probably the greatest tag team matches in AEW history, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And he's getting an opportunity. And sometimes you just got to make that match look good. And last night that match was very, very good.
Oh, yes, it was. And yeah, both guys know their style. And I am intrigued by Okada versus Omega coming up. I think that should be obviously a good one. And
no, that'll be that's pay-per-view material right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, something else too that Hangman Page kicked off the show. And I thought it was a pleasant surprise. He completely spoke all in Spanish. And I was like, holy smoke. I didn't even know he spoke Spanish, and he spoke it well. And it made me think about it. And I was like, this really helps him get over more as a babyface, which I think is kind of, to build to him and into oh my God, the world champ Moxley at the, I think it helped him a little bit, speaking all in Spanish. I don't know. And that crowd was all for it too.
Well, it makes it when it's a different aspect, of Page. You're intelligent to actually do that if you didn't know he could speak that. So yeah. I can only see is all I got. So I mean, I'm done. So I mean, hopefully they decide what they want to do with this Page Moxley swerve thing. I don't know. And that last match in that pay-per-view, I thought Swerve was taking a title, but it just didn't happen.
Didn't happen. No. So, but I think this was a good move on Page's part and on AEW's part to kind of, kick him off, have him speak Spanish to the crowd, which was such a curveball. But I thought it really added to a cool element to him almost being even a bigger ambassador for AEW and what it was, because he can
international. Now he's international.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
He's not Virginia based and United States. Because now he can speak the language internationally, and that just gets more fans and more people with their eyes on the tube.
Absolutely. Excellent point. It's very, very true. Devin Dowling says, you'd think if he says something important like I'm bonded from ring in the main event, they'd at least translate that before the main event. Little bit. Like that was the tough part because he started speak. It's kind of hard. Excalibur was trying to translate, but at the same time, Hangman was just talking. So it's just like, it's hard to kind of convey that. I think ultimately Excalibur was able to touch upon the hot points and kind of get the message across. Right. So, and I think Page was good. It was a good promo from him. It's weird to say. It was one of my favorite promos he's did, and I didn't understand any of it.
Sometimes those are the best.
Yeah, right? What else did I want to cover? Oh, okay. So this is something that Justin Barrasso actually reported, I believe today, via his Undisputed Substack. More on Justin Barrasso later on in the later weeks coming up, by the way. But is in regards to Vince McMahon, Bubba. According to several executives in combat sports and pro wrestling, the belief is that Vince McMahon will ultimately find himself involved in professional wrestling again. And speaking with wrestlers off the record, there is a great deal of support for McMahon, as many note that he is still held in high regard. Bubba, could you envision Vince McMahon starting a wrestling company, getting involved with another wrestling company? How would that play, do you think, in today's world?
Oh my, I don't know, because of the situation that he did by his own hand, but also too, Vince McMahon is a workaholic. Vince McMahon has he did what he did. Look, we're talking wrestling. You're doing podcast shows. I do podcast shows. I'm independent wrestling. Vince did what nobody can do, and his work ethic, there's nobody out there that can outwork him, even though he's late 70s.
Yeah, like 78, 79.
Yeah, he's got something to prove. I mean, people were happy when he was gone with his, he wasn't booking and doing stuff and changing up the Raw in the middle of the, before it went online. But now, like, there's some stuff that I'm not happy with WWE. Like, if you're a family and try to go to a WWE event, you've got to mortgage your home to go.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Who can afford that? Like, now there's, SummerSlam's 2 nights. Vince is going to do what Vince is going to do, but also too, Christmas at the McMahon family household would be something. Because you got way across, like everybody's still talking. Probably, I don't know, but I mean, he'll get it. They'll give him probably a TV channel.
Yeah, right. It's Bubba. It's so interesting. What a fascinating business this is too. It's just like we're both sports fans. You love the Steelers, and
I do.
I love the Jets. Unfortunately,
oh, that's gonna be a good one. First game.
I know, right? I know, but at the same time, there's so much drama behind the scenes that goes on. And obviously, like, we're both familiar with Aaron Rodgers and what's going on with all that stuff.
I'm I did a hot take on my Steeler Dynasty podcast show last week, and I'm buying a jersey. MVP, and I'm already packing bags for Super Bowl. That's how in I am with A-Rod. That's crazy as it sounds. But
look, I've been a fan of Rodgers forever. Like, I liked him before he got to the Jets. I liked him when he was with the Jets. I was heartbroken because of all that happened there. Mm-hmm. And so I hope you guys be successful, except for week 1. That's it.
Well, he's got something to prove, just like Vince does.
Yeah.
Neither of them want to go out on that note. So no. Aaron doesn't want to go out like last year, and Vince doesn't want to go out with what happened. So, I mean, I just hope, and the thing is, though, you would never see products on the canvas. I mean, it would be sports entertainment. It wouldn't be pro wrestling. It's pro wrestling now. But I mean, you got so many spots on the canvas, you can't even see anything anymore. Like, I understand about branding and merchandising and promoting. I understand that, but sometimes it's like a wet towel and they're just wringing everything they can. And it just looks bad. I mean, look what happened to poor Jey Uso. I mean, and if Gunter loses the title to Goldberg, I don't know what that, I mean, that's just terrible. I know we're getting off Gunter, but
Bubba, I made the case for it to happen.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did.
Well, unless Seth Rollins comes in and cashes in, that's the only way. That could happen. But
yeah, right. That's one way it could happen for sure. I said too, I was like, I understand Goldberg gets a lot of flack online. I've been a huge mark for Goldberg. Like,
me too. I met him years ago.
Yeah.
Before he, you probably did the same thing when he was at Du Bois.
Yes. That's exactly what I met him. Yes. How about that? It was at the Hampton Inn.
Yep. It's a small world. I mean, it's a small world, but, and I asked him when I met him, I'm like, when are you ever going to go for the title? And he was like, well, haven't you heard? I'm going to be wrestling Hogan. So he gave me heads up back then. Yeah, that he was wrestling Hogan. And I did like Goldberg because of his intensity and, and how he carried himself. But later years, the Undertaker situation and him just, sometimes you don't want to go back in. In my case, I would never, ever wrestle again because I do not want to offend people paying for me because I just feel that I'm not at my best. I'm going to be 54 years old here soon. I don't need to be, there's other stuff that I can do in wrestling. Don't get me wrong. I miss it. I miss, it is like, it's a high, but I also like to bend down and tie my tennis shoes too, without like taking 25 minutes.
Absolutely. Right. You got to find the balance of it all. And yes, I did say like that. My case was that, the World Heavyweight Championship kind of doesn't mean as much when it came in because it sounded like Roman Reigns had the title. And so it was just kind of felt like second fiddle.
Maybe I can ask you. The thrill of going for the chase of the title to me is more important.
Absolutely it is. That 100%. And you see that time and time again. I think even speaking of Goldberg, I think when he won that championship, after he got it, it was like the high was done. Mm-hmm. It was just and then, you had the more of the run a little bit more, but I think the fans were so hungry for Goldberg in the chase that once he got it, it didn't kind of end up, keeping that momentum, which I think always happens same with Cody. I think Cody's, how do you maintain him as the champion for so long?
Right.
And I think they did overall a decent job, but it's a tough thing. It's more of the thrill of the chase.
It's also tough trying to keep everything. And I'm just on a small status quo. I can only imagine, AEW, TNA, WWE, all these major companies trying to keep everybody's, the pot on the oven percolating at all times. Like, yeah. I don't know how. God bless them.
Right. No, I think that's a fair point you make, though, when it comes to what WWE is doing. That's been a talking point on several of the shows that I've been doing too, is outpricing a lot of the fan base. And, it kind of hurts a little bit of your goodwill. And I think they have to be careful. They shouldn't get too far over their skis, because if you price out that, you're getting rid of such a aspect that is, organic with pro wrestling, having it for everybody, basically.
Well, that and the merchandise. Like, if you go into, any type of department store and your son wants an action figure, that's $25. Like, and Dad, I want 2 figures. Well, that's $50. like I understand everybody has to make whatever, but I mean, you can't afford it. Like, and it's tough. And that's why maybe going to these smaller independent shows, you get to see, firsthand, you get to, be right there. You get to see guys that were on TV, guys that should be on TV, guys that look like wrestlers, and that money is well spent in certain situations. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like going to WWE events too. They're coming to Pittsburgh, but I mean, I'm just not, that's, parking, and it just takes a toll. But for having a family and, the little Johnny, Mom, Dad, I want an action figure, I want a t-shirt, roll right there. It's costly.
It's very good. Yeah, it is. It's crazy how much the action figures are nowadays. It's nuts.
I know.
But I mean, something that I guess was a Vince McMahon thing was like, he wanted, I think WrestleMania 9, they had ticket prices were at $25, were like the cheapest, which is like, that made it for everybody. So, I mean, if Vince were to sink his teeth back into some sort of pro wrestling promotion of some sort, there's some opportunities there to kind of take advantage of.
Yeah, but he would have to sign some talent, and those guys on WWE are probably not leaving, even though they respect him in the wrestling sense. Now, that's what I'm talking wrestling sense. I'm not talking about what he. I'm not. What he did is not right. But as a wrestling guy who did wrestling, some things he held a lot of people back. And maybe he buried other people too. And that's not right either.
Yeah.
But when you have that kind of money and you can do what you want to do and you build it upon your own back, you probably can say what you want, I guess.
Right. No, that's the aspect. And like I was talking with Magnum TA about this too, was that obviously what he did is horrible, and like it's all going to work out in the court of law and aspect of all that thing. And so that's, but separate from that, him getting back into the wrestling business can help the wrestling business because there's more options, and that's like, it gets more people involved, and you create more buzz. So, and it's a negative connotation having Vince in the mix of it all, I'm sure, but that's still an element to kind of consider too at the same time.
And Dominic, that's the same as the Hulkster. You know what I mean? Like, Hogan is a mainstream of pro wrestling. Take out all the other stuff, you can't put that in. Pro wrestling, Hogan did this business, what he did, his personal life, and how, look, when you meet your heroes, you're not supposed to meet your heroes. You know what I mean? Like, you're not supposed to, because you're not going to like what something happened and they're going to say something, or they're going to be like, hey kid, get away from me. You know what I mean? And that just happens. But I mean, Vince is the same, Hogan, like those two together. I mean, look, we're talking wrestling right now because of those two.
Absolutely. It's definitely like a double-edged sword kind of speak. So, man. Okay, Bubba, anything else that you want to plug? APWF Redemption coming this Sunday. Be sure to get your tickets if you're in the area. Is there any way that people can watch it after the fact or anything like that?
It will be on indiewrestling.us. It'll also be on my podcast show, The Triple B Experience. I put all the Allied Powers Wrestling Federation matches on there. I do have a lot of old stuff, but I am not real tech savvy to transfer 20 years of old wrestling yet. And then you probably got to do copyright because of the ring entrance music back in the day. But you can go to www.apwfwrestling.com. We have a Facebook site. And it's just homegrown. I need to get a good tech guy. I do the best I can. I use my podcast, the Triple B Experience and Steelers Dynasty podcast, to promote this company. And I do the experience. Actually, as of tonight, I'm going to be promoting all the shows that are going on tonight in Western Pennsylvania at 9:00. So, I mean, I'm honored that I'm on your show, a real podcast. No, I mean, serious. You and your brother, I have the utmost respect for, because you guys, this is what you do. This is your livelihood. Me, I'm just having fun in my lovely studio here and trying to be entertaining. And it's always an honor to get invited to a real podcast show about wrestling. And, I never would have thought this would happen. I mean, who, you know what I mean? Like, and I never thought I'd actually run wrestling shows again either. That's
right. Who knows? Sometimes.
Yeah, it's and I tell anybody, if anybody wants to do it, go try it. And then you gotta like I didn't know when I got back into it, like I gotta pay event insurance. Like, oh Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, I got to get a doctor, and I do have a doctor. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so, and I had a doctor way back when too, but, I just want to say, before I get out of here, all the guys and girls that are coming, Sunday, we'll put on a great show at the S&T Bank Arena, 9 exciting matches. We do have the guys that are on the show, and girls are some of the best unsung talent. Spencer Slade, NWA Superstars. Yep. Slade and Bill Collier wrestling against each other. If promoters can hear me all across the United States, that is a marquee matchup. Gorgeous Gregory and big time Bill Collier have never worked each other ever. Wow. And this is going to be a first Sunday. And Gregory is an up and coming that pretty soon, he should be on TV.
Oh, for sure.
Your brother should be on TV, having his own show, not like maybe Piper's Pit, and then smacking somebody and then cutting a promo, because
that's it. Yeah.
Right now your brother is cutting promos. And being so new to this business, he seems like a wily vet.
He does. That's the buzz going around for sure.
Yeah, and it's true. It's true.
Well, it sure will be fun this Sunday. APWF Redemption. Be sure to check it out where you can. I'll be sure to share some links out to everybody. You're welcome. Bubba, we'll have to get you back on here just to talk some of the current events even a little bit more. And
I was honored. Dominic, to come on to a real wrestling podcast, and it's my honor. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to actually promote my company. And I mean, I could write a book and a movie about independent wrestling and how hard it is. And it is very, very hard, because I can't like Sheets now, you can't even put posters up, and they took it. That's terrible. And Sheets was putting posters up I'd go to people's houses and knock on their doors if need be. I mean, yeah. I can only do so much. I mean, I made the front page of the Indiana Gazette yesterday. We did my radio spot come on the local radio today. I mean, any type of media stuff that I can use and get on. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I don't make my living doing podcasting, but any type of opportunity I can get, I truly appreciate it. And today was one of the best being on this show. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for coming on here, Bubba. Like I said, full circle moment, and very happy that I know I told you this before about after I met you when I was 13, I went back and made you on WrestleMania 2000. So
I was in shape and probably did a hurricanrana off the top rope.
Yeah. You're ready to roll, man.
Oh, thanks, Dominic. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Best of luck in your future endeavors. I'll see you here tomorrow on Rumor and Innuendo.